Okay, let's just orient to a few of the techniques and terminology in Module 4. Most of what we're doing with breathwork is we're repatterning energy within the body, prana. There are three main channels through which that prana or energy moves. There's the Ida, which is located on the left side of the body, Ida nāḍī. There's the Pingala nāḍī, which is located on the right side of the body. And then there's the Sushumna nāḍī, which runs up through the center. Most of what we're doing as we're breathing, we're inhaling, our abdomen is expanding, chest is expanding, breath is rising to the third eye. So we're breathing into the base of the spine, the Muladhara chakra, the root chakra, and we're sending that breath upwards to the third eye and then back down and up and back down. So essentially, we're pulling energy in away from our senses of the physical body, and as much as possible, centering it into that central nāḍī, the sushumna, so that we can raise our consciousness and lift our energy, our prana, up into the space between our eyebrows, our third eye. The Ida, the left side, is more lunar, cooling, intuitive. It's linked to the right side of the brain and associated with parasympathetic qualities. The Pingala nāḍī, which is solar, warming, more logical, runs along the right side of the body. It's linked to the left brain and more sympathetic qualities. The Sushumna, important to note here that it carries the kundalini from the base of the spine, and so it remains dormant until there's balance between both the moon and the sun channels, the Ida and the Pingala. We also talk about the different chakras, and I briefly explain them in the module content, and we'll go over them in the live sessions. But this is really the basis for a lot of the underpinning of the Clear Path method in particular, understanding different mental and emotional imprints that get stored in these particular parts of the body, so that when you're guiding sessions and you're working with clients and they're sharing things or experiencing things where maybe there's a release or a sensation or a color, and they'll provide a symptom that falls in line to something that you see in these chakras when they're out of balance and when they're misaligned. Essentially, these chakras are vortices of energy, and they're like wheels, and these wheels essentially are pulling in information from our senses and memory. So anytime we experience something in the physical body, pleasant or unpleasant, something that we like or dislike, it gets sent through the nervous system to the mind, the ego, and the intellect, and the mind, the ego, and the intellect creates meaning and data and a memory. And then those memories, sometimes it's conscious, most of the times it's unconscious, and these imprints live in the subconscious layer of the body. So a lot of the patterning and symptoms that you see, especially associated with the qualities of these 7 chakras, predominantly the lower 3 chakras, is likely because there's some sort of material there that has not been processed. And again, we'll get into this more in the live class and in some of the deeper advanced coursework. But it's a good idea to just orient yourself with these chakras and some of their qualities, which I do list in this particular module. We'll talk about bandhas now. So there's 3 bandhas. There's the Mula bandha associated with Muladhara, which is the root chakra. This grounds energy at the base of the spine. It stabilizes posture. It redirects prana upward. So the way to engage this is sitting comfortably, and on an exhale, you're gently contracting the pelvic floor muscles. So imagine that there is something just slightly above the perineum and below the navel area. So like a ball of light or energy. And essentially, we're lifting that up and in and holding for several breaths and then releasing. So really, it's helping to build awareness of the pelvic floor and this grounding energy. Important not to strain when you're engaging Mula bandha. The next bandha or lock is Anabandha, which is abdominal lock. So this works in particular with the sacral area, so Swadhisthana chakra and manipura, solar plexus chakra. Essentially, it's drawing energy into the abdomen space, helping to energize digestive fire, and really awakening prana. The way to engage this is as we exhale and empty the lungs. With the breath held out, draw the abdomen in toward the upper rib cage. So you're creating a hollow belly effect, and then hold briefly. And then exhale, release. It's best that it's practiced on an empty stomach because it does help to stimulate digestion and build heat and inner vitality. So we'd be inhaling. Pulling our belly in toward our spine, pressurizing the air up into the chest and the lungs and into the brain. You'll notice as I start to pull in for Uddiyana Bandha here, naturally there's like a vacuum or cavity that just gets created, not just in my abdomen, but also in my throat area, which is indicating the next lock here, Jalandhara Bandha, which is the throat lock. So this is activating the throat chakra, the Vishuddha. It's regulating prana in the head and the heart. It helps to calm the mind and protects the heart during some retention practices, especially when we're doing inhale and holds and we feel that surge of energy moving up through the sushumna or that cerebral spinal fluid that's coming upward into the cerebral area. So the way to practice this is on a breath retention, lower the chin gently toward the chest as if creating a lock at the throat. Hold for several breaths and then release as you lift the chin on the inhale. What it will look like essentially if I was engaging Mahabandha, which is the great lock. This is all three, Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, and Jalandhara Bandha. So a root lock, stomach lock, throat lock, all engaged at the same time is the great lock. And I'll just practice this on an exhale just for the purposes of demonstrating. And exhale on the release and then inhale. You can't see my stomach. Maybe in another video or during our live class, I'll show you what this looks like. But this is a good high-level overview. The bandhas are important because they really help to keep energy from dissipating outward and support the breath retentions. Like in this practice, as we're cueing for the external breath hold, once we exhale the air out and we hold and then we inhale, we're engaging Uddiyana Bandha, pulling our belly in towards our spine, pressurizing the air into our chest, into our lungs, and then possibly even Jalandhara Bandha while we hold for about 15-30 seconds. They're helpful to guide safe and effective retentions and then helpful to direct prana, as I was mentioning, energy, life force, into the central nāḍī, which is the sushumna. This is ultimately preparing us for higher meditative states, hence the importance of integration. So most of this practice is preparing as we're continually repatterning this energy through these chakras up to the third eye. We're signaling that we're wanting to raise our consciousness into this space. And the bandhas are helping to facilitate and awaken that energy. I'll go over Kumbhaka next, not mudras for this video, but Kumbhaka is breath retention. This is one of the central practices in the Clear Path method, at least the foundations training. Kumbhaka means hold or suspend, and it's probably one of the most powerful tools of pranayama because it does more than just pause breathing. So most of the breathwork classes or trainings that are out there probably are incorporating some sort of Kumbhaka, which is a hold. Physiologically, the kumbhaka or the hold reduces the sensitivity to CO2 buildup, which, as we were covering in earlier modules, enhances oxygen delivery through the Bohr effect and gradually increases lung capacity. So the few that we'll cover, Antara Kumbhaka is internal retention, internal breath hold. So this is really helping to build lung capacity, heighten concentration, and lift prana into higher states or higher energy centers, notably into the throat area and into the third eye space. Kumbhaka is an external retention. The breath is held with the lungs empty. So this helps really to purify and sharpen inner control, increasing tolerance to CO2. Combined with bandhas and holds, it becomes a great way to generate heat and inner vitality. Sahaja Kumbhaka is spontaneous retention. It's not necessarily something we'll train for in the foundations course, but this is what happens during this practice, especially after 3 rounds of controlled hyperventilation, where the breath is naturally finding the depth of within you and the height within you, that there's a stillness of the breath that arises and a meditative absorption. So you may experience this spontaneous retention, maybe not noticing if the breath is held in or out. And this is directing us toward one of the more advanced states of suspension called Kavalya Kumbhaka. This is an advanced state where breath actually just seizes naturally without effort through mastery of mind and prana. It's considered the doorway to samadhi or union. In this state, prana is flowing readily, steadily through the Sushumna Nāḍī, and the practitioner may experience transcendence, unity, or a non-dual state of formless awareness. I get into some of these holds more in depth in advanced trainings, especially in person, but it's good just to be aware through your own practice and as you're guiding others. So a couple of the techniques that we'll share in this video: Nāḍī Shodhana, balancing breath here, alternate nostril breathing. You're taking your thumb and you're taking your ring finger to close the nostrils or the energy channels here. And we'll begin with an inhale, lips sealed. Inhale through the left nostril and then exhale through the right nostril. Concentrating at the point between the eyebrows. Again, breathing diaphragmatically into the abdomen, into the chest, into the third eye, just using this particular alternate nostril breathing technique. So here's how it looks. Closing the right nostril with the thumb, inhaling. Closing the left nostril with the ring finger, exhaling through the right. Inhaling through the right. And exhaling through the left. You can repeat this for just a few rounds, maybe 6 to 10 rounds, or however long that you notice the effects within your system. The 2 fingers can either rest here between the eyebrows or just free floating. There are some adaptations as you keep practicing this where you can do measured counting through the inhale and the hold and then the exhale. I won't get into this particularly on the video, maybe in the live teaching, but just something to be aware of where you're using Nāḍī Shodhana, but you're doing measured counting. Ujjayi, victorious or ocean's breath. This is where there's a slight constriction in the throat space, the epiglottis here. It creates somewhat of a whispering sound, or if you're fogging up a mirror, or if you may even sound like Darth Vader from Star Wars, where on the inhale and the exhale, there's that slight constriction and that regulation of air moving. Sounds like this. The next technique we'll cover is Surya Bedhana, which is sun-piercing breath. So using similar structure to Nāḍī Shodhana, except we're activating the sun channel here. So we're breathing through the right and exhaling through the left. So closing the left nostril. So with the ring finger, breathing through the right. Exhale through the left. Breathing through the right. Exhaling through the left. You'll repeat a few rounds of that. And again, it's more of an activating breath because you're activating the sun channel, the Pingala Nāḍī. Chandra Bedana, moon-piercing breath, is the opposite. So we're going to activate the Ida, or the moon channel. So we'll inhale through the left and exhale through the right. So closing the nostril with your thumb, inhale through the left. Close the left, exhale through the right. Inhale through the left. Close the left, exhale through the right. More energizing breaths and purifying. We'll go over 3 of these. So Kapalabhati, which is a skull shining breath. So this will be forceful exhalations and passive inhalations. Helps to cleanse the lungs, energize the body, clear any stagnation, and it stimulates the solar plexus, the Manipura. So as we're forcefully exhaling through the nostrils, concentrate on contracting the solar plexus, or imagine that there's a tiny ball of energy right behind your navel space every time that you exhale. So we'll take a deep breath in. We'll do about 20-ish breaths and then exhale all the air out, and that's 1 round. Feel free to practice this for 2, 3, 4 rounds. So inhale. Bhastrika, which is the next technique or pranayama practice, which is bellows breath. Similar, but forceful inhale and exhale, equal in length and duration. Helps to build fire, raises sympathetic energy, and mobilizes emotional charge. Again, maybe concentrating in the Manipura, the solar plexus area. So I'll just do, again, maybe less than 20-ish breaths, but 15 to 20-ish breaths per round, 2 to 3 rounds. Inhaling. And ending with an exhale. The next technique we'll cover is which is bumblebee or humming breath. With this particular practice, you're closing your ears with your thumbs, the tragus in your ears, and then your fingertips are resting over your face, or they're resting up on the crown of your head, the crown chakra. And you'll inhale in, and then make a humming sound for the exhale. Exhaling all the air out of the lungs, and then repeating about 2 to 3 rounds. This practice is very beneficial for soothing the nervous system, reducing anxiety, opening the throat and the heart. It also has a lot of healing physiological properties, healing to release nitric oxide, which is helpful for lung health and the immune system as well. Cooling and restorative breaths, just briefly we'll mention these, Dali, and so you'll inhale through a rolled tongue if possible, or teeth, and then exhale through the nose. So inhaling through the teeth. Helping to balance heat and agitation with this particular technique. We've gone over Uddiyana Bandha. There are a few other practices like Agni Sara, which is fire cleansing breath, where after we're exhaling, engaging Uddiyana Bandha, so pulling the belly in towards the spine, and pumping the stomach in and out. And then exhale to release any remaining air, helping to clear blockages and strengthening diaphragmatic control. Again, we'll cover these in more depth during the live session. Come with questions, and happy practicing.